Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the Premier. Premier, you sat at the Cabinet table and signed the document which authorized your Liberal government to waste over $1 billion of taxpayer money to cancel 2 power plants. Over the past 8 months, you have stated that your government reacted out of respect for the local community's opposition to these power plants.
Depends on where the community.
If you haven't noticed, 73 municipalities in Ontario have declared themselves unwilling hosts, but despite your promises, wind projects continue to be approved for communities who do not want them. Since when did a person's postal code determine whether they receive respect or contempt from your government? About 200 tractors, I was out in the rain with these folks on the weekend. About 200 tractors, trucks, and cars made their way down a 30-kilometer stretch of Highway 402 to get your attention. Premier, will you recognize that all...
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, I think the member opposite absolutely makes the point that I was making in response to the leader of the third party, which is that it is very important to have a good community process, and the process that the Minister of Energy is putting in place, which identifies willing hosts and gives communities more input into the process up front, Mr. Speaker, that is exactly what needs to happen. And I would suggest, Mr. Speaker, that the work that we did on green energy has been very, very positive, and there is a lot to learn from the process that perhaps didn't take communities.
If it's a test, I'll pass it. Supplementary.
Thank you, Speaker. Back to the Premier. You know what they say, those who can't do, those who can't consult and have conversations. Enough is enough. Your government, with the support of the NDP, has lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs because of your botched green energy policies. And you have the audacity to announce another rate hike as of November 1st. Last Friday, I have to tell you, Premier, my constituency assistant helped a family of 7. Their electricity had been cut off because they could not afford to pay their hydro bill. The mother called my office frantic because she had 5 small children, and we had the threat of snow this past weekend in my riding. Thankfully, on a Friday afternoon, we were able to arrange to get the hydro back on. But for how long? Premier, where are you taking this province? Truthfully, I am dreading this winter in fear of all the people who cannot afford their hydro bills. Premier, is this what you envisioned for Ontario when you took over this role? And are we to expect families not to receive the basic...
Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Let's not get wound up before I even get a chance to have her stand. Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, Mr. Speaker, let me just say that we have rebuilt over 80% of our electricity system because...
The member from Northumberland, Quinte West, is warned. Carry on.
That rebuild of 80% of the electricity system had to happen, Mr. Speaker, because when we came into office, it was not reliable, it had been neglected, and that work needed to be done. On top of that, Mr. Speaker, our plan for green energy has eliminated dirty coal, Mr. Speaker. It's created more than 31,000 jobs.
The member from Sarnia Lambton is warned. Carry on.
And it's generated $24 billion in investments, Mr. Speaker. So I absolutely take to heart, and I'm glad that the member opposite was able to work with her constituent to make sure that her constituent had power. But that power is available, Mr. Speaker, because we've reworked the energy system, and we have capacity in order to provide that electricity.
Question.